Maya Richardson never planned on becoming a symbol of anything. That wasn't her style. The daughter of two dedicated teachers from Detroit, she had always been taught that actions speak louder than words. And her actions over the last decade had transformed a tiny tech startup operating out of her apartment into Horizon Innovations, now valued at $3 billion. Tonight's charity gala wasn't just another networking event. It represented a turning point. The Whitmore family, old money industrialists with a fortune exceeding $50 billion, were ready to sign a historic partnership deal with her company. A deal worth $1 billion. A deal that would cement her legacy. Maya stood before the full-length mirror in her hotel suite, studying her reflection. The deep blue designer gown complemented her dark skin perfectly. Her natural hair was styled in an elegant updo that had taken her stylist nearly an hour to perfect. Diamond earrings, her mother's, the only jewelry she ever wore to important events, caught the light when she turned her head. "You've earned this," she whispered to herself. A ritual before every major meeting, not from arrogance but as a reminder of the countless late nights, the rejected loan applications, the doors slammed in her face, and the persistent doubt from investors who couldn't envision someone like her running a tech empire. Her phone buzzed. A text from Zoe, her chief operating officer and oldest friend. "Car's waiting." Ready to make history? Maya took one final deep breath, grabbed her clutch, and headed for the door. The drive to the Metropolitan Museum was brief but gave her enough time to review key talking points about the partnership. The Whitmore deal would accelerate Horizon's new healthcare technology that could make quality care more accessible in underserved communities. That's what mattered most. Not the headlines or the money, but the impact. The car pulled up to the museum's illuminated entrance. Camera flashes popped as guests arrived. Maya had attended enough of these events to know the routine, but she never quite got used to the spotlight. Her driver opened the door and she stepped out, smiling politely at the photographers. "Ms. Richardson, over here, Maya. Who designed your dress? Can you comment on tomorrow's signing with the Whitmores?" She offered a brief wave, but no comments. Tonight wasn't about sound bites. It was about setting the stage for tomorrow's partnership. As she climbed the museum's grand staircase, Maya noticed how conversations subtly shifted when people spotted her. This wasn't new. Being one of the few black women CEOs in the tech industry meant she was still something of a novelty in these circles. Some people stared a beat too long. Others quickly looked away. A few smiled with genuine warmth. At the entrance to the ballroom, Maya handed over her invitation to a white-gloved attendant. The space beyond was transformed. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over tables adorned with elaborate flower arrangements. A string quartet played in the corner. The air buzzed with conversation and the gentle clink of champagne glasses. "Maya, you made it." Thomas Chen, her lead counsel, appeared at her side, looking sharp in his tuxedo. "The Whitmores are already here. Harrison Sr. has been asking about you." "Has he now?" Maya accepted a champagne flute from a passing server. "I thought our meeting was scheduled for tomorrow." Apparently the old man is eager. "This deal is getting a lot of attention." Maya nodded, scanning the room. "Where's Zoe?" "Charming some potential investors by the art installation." "Want me to grab her?" "No need. I should mingle first." "How's the energy in the room?" Thomas hesitated. "Mostly good. A few rumblings about the Whitmore heir being unhappy with the terms, but nothing substantial." This was news to Maya. "Bradley? I thought we addressed all his concerns last week." "We did. This might just be last-minute nerves. The Whitmores aren't used to partnerships where they don't have controlling interest." Maya took a sip of champagne, letting the information settle. "Well, they're getting a fair deal. Our technology, their distribution network, equal decision-making power, I know that." "You know that." Thomas lowered his voice. "Just be prepared for some resistance." Maya had encountered resistance her entire career. It came with the territory when you didn't fit the expected profile of a tech CEO. "I can handle Bradley Whitmore," she said with a slight smile. "His father's the one I need to impress." As if summoned by her words, a hush fell over the nearby crowd as Harrison Whitmore Sr. entered her line of sight. Tall and imposing even in his 70s, with a full head of silver hair and piercing blue eyes, he commanded attention without effort. Old money had that quality, a certain assurance that the world would bend to accommodate it. Next to him stood his wife, Eliza, elegant in a vintage Dior gown that probably cost more than some people's homes. And slightly behind them, looking somewhat bored, was their son Bradley, heir to the Whitmore fortune and, if tomorrow's deal went through, Maya's new business partner. Harrison spotted Maya across the room. Their eyes met, and he offered a measured nod before whispering something to his wife. Maya couldn't read his expression. Was it approval? Calculation? Simple acknowledgement? In her experience, men like Harrison Whitmore Sr. rarely revealed their true thoughts. "Should I introduce you?" Thomas asked. Maya shook her head. "Not yet. Let's let them come to us." It was a small power play, but in these circles such things mattered. She wouldn't appear too eager. Instead, she made her way through the crowd, stopping to greet familiar faces. The mayor clasped her hand warmly. "Maya, the pride of our city. I hear big things are happening tomorrow." "If all goes well," she replied diplomatically. "The Whitmores are lucky to have you," he said, lowering his voice. "Though between us, old Harrison can be a tough nut to crack. Known him for 20 years. Still can't tell what he's thinking half the time." Maya appreciated the insight. "Any advice?" "Be yourself. That company you've built speaks volumes. And don't let Bradley get under your skin. Well, let's just say he's not his father." That aligned with what Maya had observed in their previous meetings. Bradley seemed to have inherited his father's confidence, but not his strategic mind. As she continued circulating, Maya felt a familiar weight settle on her shoulders. In rooms like this, she never simply represented herself or even just her company. Whether she liked it or not, her success or failure would be measured as a reflection on other Black women in business. It wasn't fair, but it was reality. Her phone vibrated in her clutch. Another text from Zoe. "Whitmore patriarch heading your way. Game face on." Maya slipped her phone away and straightened her posture just as Harrison Whitmore Sr. appeared before her, Eliza at his side. "Ms. Richardson," he said, extending his hand. His grip was firm but not aggressive. "A pleasure to see you again." "Likewise, Mr. Whitmore, Mrs. Whitmore, you look lovely this evening." Eliza offered a thin smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Thank you, dear. That's quite a dress, very bold." Maya recognized the subtle dig but let it slide. "Thank you. I believe in making statements." Harrison chuckled, a surprisingly warm sound from such an imposing figure. "And you've certainly made plenty with Horizon Innovations. Your healthcare initiative proposal impressed our board. Not an easy feat, that's kind of you to say. The technology has potential to transform care delivery in communities that have been historically overlooked." "Yes, quite." Harrison's eyes assessed her with open curiosity. "You know, when Bradley first suggested we look at your company, I was skeptical. Another tech startup with big promises. But your numbers speak for themselves." Maya kept her expression neutral, though the implication that they only considered her company at Bradley's suggestion, when she had been the one to initiate contact through mutual connections, was irritating. "I believe in letting results speak louder than promises," she replied, "which is why tomorrow's partnership is so exciting. Together we can scale these solutions faster than either company could alone." Harrison nodded, seemingly satisfied with her answer. A pragmatic approach. Refreshing in this industry. Eliza glanced around the room, clearly less interested in business talk. "Will you be at the Henderson Gala next month?" "It's for children's literacy, a cause close to my heart." "I'll have to check my calendar," Maya said politely, knowing she had already committed to a speaking engagement in Tokyo that week. "You must make time for philanthropy." "Dear," Eliza said with the faintest hint of condescension. "It's what separates mere business success from true social standing." Before Maya could respond, Bradley Whitmore appeared, champagne in hand and a slightly too loud laugh preceding him. "There you are, Father. I see you found our newest partner." The way he said partner carried a note of amusement, as if the concept was somehow funny. "Ms. Richardson was just discussing the healthcare initiative," Harrison said. Bradley's eyes swept over Maya in a way that made her instinctively want to step back. "Yes, the famous algorithm. Tell me, Ms. Richardson, did you actually code it yourself? I understand you have a technical background." The question was designed to undermine, to make her prove herself. Maya had faced this countless times before. The original algorithm, yes, though now we have a team of brilliant engineers who've helped refine it. She smiled pleasantly. "And please call me Maya." Bradley raised his eyebrows slightly. "Impressive. Most CEOs I know can barely manage their email accounts. I'm not most CEOs, Maya replied simply. Harrison Sr. gave his son a warning. And look. Bradley, why don't you tell Ms. Richardson about the distribution network we're planning to leverage for the rollout? As Bradley launched into an explanation she'd already heard in previous meetings, Maya observed the family dynamics. Harrison was clearly the power center, Eliza the social strategist, and Bradley, well, Bradley seemed to be playing a role he hadn't quite grown into yet. Behind them, the glittering Gala continued, a perfect backdrop for the deals and decisions that would shape industries. Maya listened attentively, asking pointed questions that demonstrated her thorough understanding of the partnership details. What none of them could see was her mind already racing several steps ahead, planning how this partnership would unfold, how she would navigate these complex personalities while staying true to her vision for Horizon Innovations. The night was just beginning. And Maya Richardson, the teacher's daughter from Detroit who had built something extraordinary through sheer determination, was ready for whatever came next. Or so she thought. 3 hours into the charity gala, Maya's feet had begun to protest against her heels. She'd made her rounds through the ballroom, shaking hands with potential investors, exchanging pleasantries with city officials, and discussing upcoming projects with fellow tech innovators. The constant smile and perfect posture were taking their toll, but she wouldn't show it. Not tonight. She found a moment of respite near a stunning art installation, a glass sculpture that caught the light and scattered rainbow fragments across the marble floor. The piece was titled Breaking Barriers, which made Maya smile at the coincidence. Quite beautiful, isn't it? Maya turned to find Zoe beside her, 2 water glasses in hand. She passed one to Maya, who accepted it gratefully. Thanks. I needed this more than champagne right now. Maya took a sip, letting the cool water soothe her throat. How's the room feeling? Zoe had always been Maya's barometer for social situations. While Maya focused on the big picture, Zoe noticed details, a skill that had served them well since college. Mostly positive. I've had 3 venture capital firms hint they'd love to talk after the Whitmore deal is announced. Zoe lowered her voice, though there's some interesting gossip about the Whitmores circulating. Oh? Maya kept her expression neutral, though her interest was piqued. Apparently Bradley tried to block this deal initially, only came around when his father insisted. This confirmed Maya's suspicions about the younger Whitmore's attitude. Any idea why? Zoe shrugged slightly. The usual fragile ego stuff, probably. Word is he pitched his own healthcare tech investment last year that flopped. Might see your success as highlighting his failure. Maya absorbed this information, filing it away. She'd dealt with bruised egos before. As long as Harrison Sr. is on board, we're fine. Speaking of which, Zoe nodded toward the other side of the ballroom. The matriarch is heading this way with Bradley in tow. Maya straightened, slipping back into CEO mode as Eliza Whitmore approached, her son following like a reluctant shadow. Eliza's smile seemed practiced, her eyes evaluating Maya's position near the centerpiece art. Ms. Richardson, I hope you're enjoying the evening. Eliza's voice carried that particular tone of old money, soft yet somehow commanding. Very much so. Mrs. Whitmore, the foundation has outdone itself this year. Eliza beamed, clearly pleased. I chaired the decoration committee. The theme is building bridges, bringing together different worlds. Very fitting, Maya responded, fully aware of the subtext in Eliza's words. Bradley shifted beside his mother, checking his watch with obvious impatience. He'd switched from champagne to what appeared to be whiskey, the amber liquid swirling in his crystal tumbler. Mother, we should find father. The senator wanted a word before the speeches begin, Bradley said, barely acknowledging Maya's presence. In a moment. Dear. Eliza turned her attention back to Maya. Tell me, Ms. Richardson, this healthcare algorithm of yours, it's designed for underserved communities? Maya nodded. Yes, it helps identify patients who might fall through the cracks in traditional systems. Early intervention, preventative care, things that make a real difference in outcomes. How charitable, Eliza commented. Though I wonder if there's enough financial incentive in focusing on those markets. The implication was clear. Poor communities weren't profitable enough to bother with. Maya kept her smile firmly in place. Actually, our data shows tremendous opportunity. Healthcare inefficiency costs billions annually. Solving access problems creates value for everyone, patients, providers, and yes, investors. Bradley scoffed quietly, taking a sip of his whiskey. Theory versus practice, Ms. Richardson. These communities lack infrastructure, education. How can technology solve systematic failures? Maya had answered this question in countless boardrooms. Technology isn't a magic solution, Mr. Whitmore, it's a tool. Our approach combines tech with community partnerships. The results in our Detroit pilot speak for themselves. 30% reduction in emergency room visits. 25% improvement in chronic disease management. A small crowd had gathered around them, drawn by the conversation. Maya noticed several investors she'd been hoping to connect with among them. Detroit, Bradley repeated, emphasizing the word with a hint of disdain. Your hometown, correct? Perhaps some emotional investment clouding business judgment? The suggestion that her connection to Detroit somehow undermined her business acumen struck a nerve, but Maya maintained her composure. On the contrary, first-hand knowledge of a market provides insights data alone can't capture. That's why our solutions work where others have failed. An older gentleman in the crowd nodded approvingly. Smart approach. Local knowledge, global application. Bradley's expression hardened at the support Maya was receiving. He stepped closer, invading her personal space slightly. The scent of expensive cologne and whiskey surrounded him. Let's be direct, Ms. Richardson. Your company's valuation seems optimistic. $3 billion for a 5-year-old startup? The tech bubble is alive and well. The crowd grew quiet. This had crossed from typical networking banter into something more confrontational. Zoe stepped forward, but Maya gave her a subtle hand signal to stand down. She'd handle this herself. Our valuation reflects our growth trajectory, proprietary technology, and market position, Maya explained calmly. The last 3 funding rounds were oversubscribed, and our customer acquisition costs are 40% below industry average. I'd be happy to walk you through the financials tomorrow, though I believe your father's due diligence team has already verified these figures. A few appreciative murmurs rippled through the onlookers. Bradley's face flushed slightly. Numbers can be manipulated, he said dismissively. My father may be impressed with your story, but I've seen tech darlings crash before. Eliza placed a manicured hand on her son's arm. Bradley, dear, perhaps we should— No, Mother, Ms. Richardson should hear this before tomorrow's signing. Bradley's voice had risen slightly. The Whitmore name has stood for excellence for generations. We don't jump on trendy bandwagons or make decisions based on optics. The implication hung in the air. Maya felt heat rising in her chest but kept her breathing steady. She'd faced this insinuation before, that her success was somehow due to her being a black woman rather than her company's merits. Mr. Whitmore, Maya replied, her voice level but firm. Horizon Innovations technology has been validated by independent audits, peer-reviewed research, and most importantly, real-world results. Our partnership offers mutual benefits based on complementary strengths. This isn't charity, it's good business. Bradley's grip tightened on his whiskey glass. Good business is knowing your place in the ecosystem, Ms. Richardson. Today you're the darling of the tech world. Tomorrow, who knows? Our family has weathered centuries of market fluctuations. Maya was about to respond when Bradley raised his glass in a mock toast, stepping even closer to knowing one's place. As he moved, his elbow jerked forward, whether intentionally or not, Maya couldn't be sure, and his whiskey splashed across the front of her blue gown. The amber liquid spread quickly, staining the delicate fabric. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Maya froze, feeling the cold wetness seep through to her skin. Oh my, Eliza exclaimed, not sounding particularly distressed. What a clumsy accident. Bradley made a show of looking apologetic. How careless of me. These events get so crowded. He pulled out a handkerchief, offering it with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Let me help. Maya took a step back. No need. Zoe appeared at her side with napkins from a nearby table. Let's get you to the restroom, she murmured. The crowd parted as Maya turned to leave, her dignity intact but her dress ruined. Behind her, she heard Bradley speaking to the onlookers. These things happen when people find themselves in unfamiliar environments. Maya kept walking, her back straight, though her hands had begun to tremble slightly. As she neared the exit, Harrison Whitmore Sr. entered the ballroom, his presence commanding immediate attention. Their eyes met briefly, his unreadable, hers carefully composed despite the situation. In the restroom, Zoe helped blot the worst of the stain while Maya stood still, processing what had just happened. That was deliberate, Zoe said quietly, anger evident in her voice. Bradley's been drinking, but he wasn't that drunk. Maya watched her reflection in the mirror. We don't know that for certain. Maya, come on. The timing? The comment afterward. He might as well have worn a sign saying, I'm a jealous, threatened man. Maya took a deep breath. Even if it was deliberate, we have a $1 billion deal signing tomorrow. We need to focus on that. And let him get away with humiliating you in front of half the city's elite? Zoe looked incredulous. Before Maya could respond, the restroom door opened. Eliza Whitmore entered, her expression a careful mask of concern. Ms. Richardson, I wanted to check on you. Such an unfortunate accident. Maya met her gaze in the mirror. Thank you for your concern, Mrs. Whitmore. These things happen. Eliza moved closer, lowering her voice. I should mention, Bradley has always been protective of our family's legacy. He means well, truly. I understand family loyalty, Maya replied neutrally. Good. Eliza's tone shifted slightly, because while Harrison makes the final decisions, he values Bradley's input tremendously. Family harmony is essential to our business relationships. The message was clear. Accommodate Bradley or risk the deal. After Eliza left, Zoe turned to Maya with wide eyes. Did she just— Yes, Maya cut her off. She did. Maya checked her phone. There were already texts from Thomas and other team members who had witnessed the incident. News traveled fast in these circles. What do you want to do? Zoe asked, concern evident in her voice. We could postpone tomorrow's signing, cite a schedule conflict. Maya looked at her stained dress, then back at her reflection. She thought about her parents, who had taught in underfunded Detroit schools for 30 years, never backing down from challenges. She thought about the communities that would benefit from her technology. She thought about every boardroom where she'd been underestimated, every investor who had questioned her capabilities rather than her business plan. The signing proceeds as scheduled, Maya said finally. But I need you to do something for me tonight. Anything, Zoe replied immediately. Pull up the contract. I want to review every clause again, especially the governance sections. Zoe studied her friend's face. You're planning something? Maya smoothed down her dress as best she could. I'm ensuring that whatever happens tomorrow, it happens on my terms. As they prepared to return to the gala, Maya felt a strange calm settling over her. The incident with Bradley had clarified something she'd sensed but hadn't fully acknowledged. This partnership would come with costs that weren't outlined in any contract. The question now was whether those costs were worth paying. Back in her hotel suite, Maya kicked off her heels the moment the door closed behind her. The clock on the nightstand read 11:47 p.m., less than 12 hours until the scheduled signing ceremony. She unzipped her ruined dress, letting it pool at her feet. The whiskey stain had dried into the fabric, leaving an unmistakable mark that matched the sour feeling in her stomach. The suite's sitting area had been transformed into a makeshift war room. Laptops open, papers spread across the coffee table, empty coffee cups testifying to the late hour. Zoe sat cross-legged on the couch, glasses perched on her nose, studying the contract with intense focus. Thomas paced by the window, phone to his ear, voice low as he gathered information from contacts who'd witnessed the gala incident. Maya emerged from the bedroom in hotel-provided pajamas, her face freshly washed, hair wrapped in a silk scarf. Without makeup or business attire, she looked younger, more vulnerable, a stark contrast to the polished CEO image she projected to the world. Any revelations? She asked, settling into an armchair. Zoe looked up, rubbing tired eyes. Nothing we didn't already know, but reading it with fresh perspective is illuminating. Meaning, Maya reached for a bottle of water. The governance structure gives them significant influence without outright control. Subtle but effective. 3 key provisions would allow them to block your decisions if they disagree with your vision. Thomas ended his call, joining the conversation. My sources say Bradley has been bad-mouthing our company to other Whitmore board members for weeks. Tonight wasn't an isolated incident, it's part of a pattern. Maya took a long sip of water, letting the information settle. So they want our technology but not necessarily our leadership. Precisely, Zoe confirmed. The contract is structured so they could gradually sideline you while benefiting from what you've built. Classic corporate strategy when acquiring innovative smaller companies. Except they're not acquiring us, Maya pointed out. This is supposed to be a partnership of equals, Thomas snorted. The Whitmores don't see anyone as their equal. That's not how old money operates. Maya's phone buzzed with incoming messages, team members checking in, concerned friends who'd heard about the incident, reporters seeking comment. She ignored them all for now. What are our options? She asked. We could try to renegotiate, Thomas suggested. Delay tomorrow's signing. Cite the need for minor adjustments to avoid embarrassing them publicly. Zoe shook her head. They'd see that as weakness after tonight. Bradley would use it to convince his father you're not reliable. Or, Thomas continued, we proceed as planned. Sign the deal, get the $1 billion, and navigate the challenges as they come. You're good at playing the long game, Maya. Maya stood, moving to the window. The city sparkled below, millions of lights in the darkness. Somewhere out there, the Whitmores were probably discussing her too, calculating how to handle the partnership, how to manage her. My grandmother used to say something, Maya said quietly. She'd say, never return to places where your dignity was optional. Her team waited, sensing she had more to share. She grew up in the South during segregation, worked as a housekeeper for a wealthy white family to put herself through night school. One day, the lady of the house threw a fit because Grandma had arranged the flowers wrong at a dinner party. Threw a vase at her. Maya's voice remained steady, though her hands tightened around the water bottle. Grandma dodged it, took off her apron, and walked out. Never went back, even though she needed that money desperately. The room fell silent. The parallel was unmistakable. Maya, Thomas began carefully. The Whitmore deal would secure Horizon's future. One unpleasant incident. It wasn't just an incident. Maya turned from the window. It was a message about my place in their world. So we fight back, Zoe suggested. Use the media. A black woman CEO publicly humiliated by an old money family the night before a historic deal. The press would have a field day. And destroy any chance of other traditional companies working with us, Thomas countered. We'd be labeled difficult, oversensitive. Maya's phone rang, Harrison Whitmore Sr.'s name appearing on the screen. She stared at it for several rings before answering on speaker. Mr. Whitmore. Ms. Richardson. His voice was measured, controlled. I heard about the unfortunate incident with Bradley this evening. Maya didn't respond, waiting for him to continue. My son can be impulsive, especially when he's had a few drinks. I want to assure you that his behavior doesn't reflect our family's values or our commitment to this partnership. I appreciate your call, Maya replied neutrally. Good, good. A pause. I trust we're still on for tomorrow's signing. The media coverage is extensive. It would be unfortunate to have to explain any delays. The subtle pressure wasn't lost on Maya. We'll be there, Mr. Whitmore. Excellent. My assistant will send a car for you at 9 a.m. Rest well, Ms. Richardson. The call ended. Maya placed her phone on the table, meeting her team's eyes. He didn't apologize, Zoe noted. Not really. No, Maya agreed. He managed the situation. Thomas sighed. So we're proceeding with the signing? I didn't say that. Maya returned to her chair. I said we'll be there. For the next 2 hours, they dissected the contract line by line, identifying every clause that could be problematic, every scenario where the Whitmores could assert control. Maya listened more than she spoke, absorbing the information, weighing options against her instincts. Around 2 a.m., Thomas dozed off in his chair. Zoe continued working, loyalty and caffeine keeping her awake. You should sleep, Maya told her. Tomorrow will be a long day. So should you. Zoe removed her glasses, rubbing her eyes. Have you decided what you're going to do? Maya leaned back, staring at the ceiling. I keep thinking about the communities this technology could help. With the Whitmore's distribution network, we could reach patients across the country within months instead of years. That's true, Zoe acknowledged. But at what cost? That's the question, isn't it? Maya smiled faintly. The business decision is clear. Sign the deal. It's good for our shareholders, good for growth, good for my career. But I keep seeing Bradley's face when he spilled that drink. The contempt in his eyes. The way Eliza basically told me to fall in line. Maya sat forward. If I sign tomorrow, I send a message to every young black woman watching that this is the price of success. Swallowing your pride. Accepting disrespect. Letting powerful people put you in your place. Zoe was quiet for a moment. And if you don't sign, we lose $1 billion. Our expansion slows. Maybe we find other partners, maybe we don't. That's a heavy weight to carry alone, Zoe said softly. Maya shook her head. It's not just about me. That's what the Whitmores don't understand. When you come from where I come from, your decisions are never just for yourself. She thought about her parents who had chosen to teach in struggling schools when they could have had easier jobs in the suburbs. She thought about her first employees who had taken a chance on her Visi. On when Horizon was just an idea. She thought about the patients in Detroit whose health had improved because of her technology. Get some sleep, Maya told Zoe. I need to make a call. After Zoe retired to the second bedroom, Maya dialed a number she knew by heart. Despite the late hour, the call was answered on the second ring. Baby girl, everything okay? Her mother's voice thick with sleep but immediately concerned. I'm sorry to wake you, Mom. Nonsense. What's wrong? I can hear it in your voice. Maya told her everything. Bradley's behavior, the ruined dress, Harrison's non-apology, the contract concerns. Her mother listened without interrupting. What would Dad say? Maya asked finally, feeling suddenly like a little girl seeking guidance rather than a CEO worth billions. Her mother's laugh was warm. You know exactly what your father would say. Money comes and goes, but your name is yours forever. The deal would help so many people, Mom. Maybe. Or maybe those people need a leader who stands up for herself more than they need quick solutions. What message does it send if you let these people treat you this way, just because they're rich and powerful? The question hung in the air, unanswerable yet clear. Whatever you decide, we're proud of you, her mother continued. But ask yourself, 10 years from now, which decision will let you sleep at night? After ending the call, Maya stood by the window again, watching the sky lighten with approaching dawn. The contract sat on the table. Hundreds of pages representing years of work, millions in investment, countless hours of negotiation. She thought about her grandmother, removing that apron and walking away from a job she desperately needed, dignity intact. She thought about her parents teaching values along with academics, showing rather than telling what integrity meant. By the time the sun rose fully, casting long shadows across the city skyline, Maya had made her decision. She showered, dressed in a crisp white suit, her power color, and applied her makeup with careful precision. When she emerged, Zoe and Thomas were already up, anxiously awaiting her verdict. We're going to the signing, Maya announced, gathering her portfolio. Thomas looked relieved. Zoe studied her friend's face more carefully. And then? Zoe asked quietly, sensing there was more. Maya checked her watch. The Whitmore's car would arrive in 20 minutes. Cameras would be waiting at the venue. Business reporters had been covering the pending partnership for weeks. And then, Maya said with calm certainty, I'm going to rewrite the script. Camera flashes greeted Maya as she stepped out of the car in front of the gleaming Whitmore corporate headquarters. The building towered over the city skyline, 70 floors of glass and steel, a monument to generations of wealth and influence. Reporters called out questions, their voices blending into a wall of sound. Ms. Richardson, how does it feel to make history today? Maya, any comment on last night's incident at the gala? Is it true the deal is worth over $1 billion? Maya smiled politely but didn't answer, moving forward with measured steps. She wore her white suit like armor, crisp, pristine, a deliberate choice that made her stand out against the sea of dark business attire surrounding her. Zoe and Thomas flanked her, their expressions professionally neutral despite the tension humming between them. You're still sure about this? Thomas whispered as they approached the entrance. Completely, Maya replied, her voice steady. The Whitmore reception area exuded old-world luxury, marble floors, wood-paneled walls, oil paintings of stern-faced ancestors watching from gilded frames. A perfectly groomed receptionist greeted them with practiced warmth. Ms. Richardson, welcome. The board is assembled in the main conference room. Mr. Whitmore asked that you join them directly. Maya checked her watch. We're 15 minutes early. The receptionist's smile didn't waver. Yes, but everyone is eager to proceed. The press has already been seated in the adjoining room for the announcement. Maya exchanged glances with her team. This was a deviation from the agreed schedule, a small power play designed to throw her off balance. We'll need a moment to prepare, Maya stated rather than asked. Is there a room where we can have 5 minutes of privacy? The receptionist hesitated, clearly not expecting pushback. Of course. You can use the executive lounge down the hall. In the plush lounge, Maya set her portfolio on a table and took a deep breath. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sprawled below, thousands of lives intersecting, each person navigating their own daily challenges. Somewhere out there were the communities her technology was designed to help, people who might never set foot in a building like this. "They're rushing us," Thomas noted, checking his phone. "PR wires are already running preliminary stories about the partnership. They're treating this as a done deal." "Of course they are," Zoe said. "That's how the Whitmores operate. Create momentum that's hard to resist." Maya opened her portfolio, reviewing her notes one last time. Not the speech that had been approved by both PR teams, but the one she had written in the early hours of the morning. "Whatever happens next," she told her team, "I want you both to know that I appreciate everything you've done to get us here." Thomas looked concerned. "Maya, it's time," she said, closing the portfolio with finality. The main conference room occupied half of the top floor, a space designed to intimidate and impress. 20 board members sat around a massive table, with Harrison Whitmore Sr. at its head. Bradley and Eliza were positioned to his right, 3 empty chairs to his left, clearly meant for Maya and her team. As they entered, all heads turned. Harrison rose, extending his hand. "Ms. Richardson, right on time." Maya shook his hand firmly. "Mr. Whitmore, thank you for hosting us today." If Harrison noticed her coolness, he didn't show it. "We've prepared a brief ceremony. The contracts are ready for signing, then we'll make the announcement to the press." He gestured to a side door. "They're waiting in the next room." "Quite a turnout. This partnership has captured significant interest." Maya nodded, taking in the room. The power dynamics were unmistakable. She and her small team facing the entire Whitmore leadership, the family positioned like royalty at the head of their domain. Bradley met her eyes briefly, his expression a mixture of boredom and lingering contempt. Eliza offered a thin smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Before we proceed," Maya said, her voice clear in the hushed room, "I'd like to address something." A flicker of annoyance crossed Harrison's face. "We have a tight schedule, Ms. Richardson. Perhaps we could handle any concerns after the formalities." "This won't take long," Maya replied, maintaining eye contact. "But I believe it's relevant to our proceedings." The room fell silent. Board members exchanged glances, sensing something unexpected. "Last night at the charity gala, there was an incident involving your son," Maya began. Bradley shifted in his seat. Eliza's smile vanished. "Maya," Thomas murmured in warning. She gave him a reassuring nod. "I believe in addressing things directly," Maya continued. "Mr. Whitmore, your son deliberately spilled his drink on my dress and made comments suggesting I don't belong in spaces like this. Your wife later implied that appeasing Bradley was a condition of our partnership." The silence in the room turned heavy. Several board members looked down at their papers, uncomfortable with the confrontation. Harrison's expression hardened slightly. "Ms. Richardson, I apologize if there was a misunderstanding. As I mentioned on the phone, Bradley sometimes speaks impulsively, especially in social settings with alcohol involved." "This wasn't a misunderstanding," Maya said calmly. "And it wasn't just words. It was a physical act followed by comments about people finding themselves in unfamiliar environments." Bradley leaned forward, his face flushing. "That's an exaggeration. It was a crowded event. Accidents happen. If you're too sensitive for standard business interactions..." "Bradley," Harrison cut him off sharply. He turned back to Maya, his voice controlled. "Ms. Richardson, I assure you that the Whitmore family and company are committed to respectful business relationships. If there was a misunderstanding, we regret it. Now shall we move forward with the signing? The press is waiting." The mention of the press was another subtle pressure tactic, a reminder of the public relations disaster that could follow if she derailed the partnership. Maya felt all eyes on her, weighing her response, judging whether she would fall in line for the sake of the deal. "I've spent the night reviewing our agreement," Maya said, opening her portfolio. "Not just the legal language, but what it represents. This partnership would accelerate our healthcare technology's reach, potentially helping millions. That matters to me deeply." Relief visibly washed over several faces around the table. They thought she was backing down, finding a graceful way to proceed despite her objections. "However," Maya continued, her voice growing stronger, "I've also considered what message this sends. about what behaviors are acceptable in business, about what compromises we're willing to make for success, about whether dignity has a price tag. The atmosphere shifted again. Harrison's expression turned wary. "What exactly are you saying, Ms. Richardson?" Maya placed her hand on the contract that sat before her, the document that represented years of work and a billion-dollar opportunity. "I'm saying that Horizon Innovations will not be proceeding with this partnership." The room erupted in murmurs. Bradley's face contorted in disbelief. Eliza touched her husband's arm in alarm. "You can't be serious," Harrison said, his composure slipping for the first time. "Over a spilled drink? Do you understand what you're walking away from?" "Perfectly." Maya remained standing while chaos swirled around her. "And it's not about the drink. It's about respect. It's about setting standards for how my company and I expect to be treated." Bradley scoffed loudly. "This is ridiculous. Father, she's clearly trying to leverage this minor incident for better terms." "No," Maya corrected him. "I'm not negotiating. I'm declining your offer entirely." Harrison's face darkened. "Ms. Richardson, may I remind you that the press is assembled next door expecting an announcement. The market is anticipating this partnership. Your board and shareholders are counting on this deal." "Yes," Maya acknowledged. "And I'll take full responsibility for those consequences." Thomas stepped forward, his legal training kicking in. "To be clear, Mr. Whitmore, we're exercising our right to withdraw as outlined in Section 47 of the preliminary agreement. No terms have been breached." Harrison ignored him, focusing entirely on Maya. "This is a billion-dollar mistake. Your company may not recover." "That's a risk I'm willing to take," Maya replied evenly. "My grandmother once taught me that there are places you don't return to once they've shown you that your dignity is optional. This is one of those places." She closed her portfolio with finality. "We'll see ourselves out." As Maya turned to leave, Bradley stood abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You think you can just walk away? Do you know who we are? What we can do to your precious company?" "Bradley," Harrison barked. "Sit down." But Bradley was already moving around the table, his face flushed with anger and embarrassment. "You come into our building, waste our time, then try to make us look bad? Who do you think you are?" He reached for Maya's arm, his fingers closing around her upper arm with enough force to make her wince. "You don't walk away from the Whitmores." The room froze. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Zoe stepped forward, phone raised, clearly recording the interaction. Maya looked down at Bradley's hand, then up to meet his eyes. "Remove your hand from my person immediately." Something in her tone, calm yet unyielding, made Bradley release her, taking a step back. He seemed suddenly aware of the witnesses, of Zoe's recording of what he had just done. Maya straightened her jacket, her composure unbroken. "Mr. Whitmore," she addressed Harrison, not Bradley. "I believe we're done here." Harrison had risen from his chair, his expression a complex mixture of anger and calculation. "Ms. Richardson, the press will want an explanation," Maya cut him off. "I suggest we provide one together that preserves both our reputations. Despite our decision not to partner, I have no interest in damaging the Whitmore name. It was a peace offering of sorts, a chance for a dignified conclusion despite what had transpired." Harrison studied her for a long moment before nodding once. "That would be appreciated." As Maya walked out, head high and step steady, she felt lighter than she had in months. Behind her, she heard Harrison berating his son in hushed, furious tones. Ahead was uncertainty, explanations to her board, disappointed investors, a company future now stripped of a billion-dollar deal. Yet with each step away from the Whitmore table, Maya Richardson knew without doubt that she had made the right choice. Maya Richardson walks away from billion-dollar deal. The headline splashed across financial news sites within hours of her departure from Whitmore headquarters. Maya sat in her office at Horizon Innovations, watching the media storm unfold on multiple screens. Some outlets praised her courage, calling it a stand against old money arrogance. Others questioned her business judgment, suggesting she had let emotions override financial sense. Maya closed her laptop, turning instead to the window. 7 days had passed since the failed signing. 7 days of emergency board meetings, investor calls, and damage control. 7 days of explaining her decision over and over, to people who measured value only in dollars and market share. A knock at her door broke the silence. Zoe entered carrying 2 cups of coffee and a tablet. The board meeting's in 30 minutes, she said, placing a cup on Maya's desk. How are you holding up? Maya accepted the coffee gratefully. I'm fine. Just tired of explaining myself. Well, you might not have to much longer. Zoe handed her the tablet. Take a look. On the screen was an email from Vincent Powell, founder of Powell Ventures, a Black-owned investment firm with a growing reputation for backing innovative healthcare companies. The message was brief but clear. They were interested in discussing a potential partnership. They reached out this morning, Zoe explained, and they're not the only ones. 3 other companies have expressed interest since the Whitmore story broke. Maya scrolled through the email, skepticism tempering her hope. They could be bottom feeders thinking we're desperate after losing the Whitmore deal. I thought so too until I saw the terms they're suggesting. Zoe pointed to a figure near the bottom of the email. They're offering $1.3 billion, with terms that would keep you as majority stakeholder. Maya stared at the number, processing what it meant. That's more than the Whitmores offered, and without the controlling interest clauses that would have gradually pushed you out. Zoe sat on the edge of the desk. Turns out standing on principle might have been good business after all. Before Maya could respond, her assistant knocked and entered. Ms. Richardson, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. He turned up the volume on the wall-mounted TV where a financial news channel was running a breaking story. The Whitmore Group stock had dropped 8% since opening, their biggest single-day decline in 5 years. Investors responding to leaked audio from the failed partnership. Meeting with Horizon Innovations, the reporter explained. Sources close to the situation suggest the recording captures Bradley Whitmore, heir to the Whitmore fortune, making threatening statements toward Horizon CEO Maya Richardson, including what some are calling a physical intimidation incident. Maya's phone began buzzing with messages. She silenced it without looking. Did you release the recording? She asked Zoe. Zoe shook her head. No. But there were 20 board members in that room, all with phones. Someone thought it would serve their interest to leak it. The assistant cleared his throat. There's something else. The tech blogs are reporting that 3 top engineers from the Whitmore development team have resigned this morning. Word is they're hoping to join Horizon. After he left, Maya sat back in her chair, taking in the rapidly changing landscape. This isn't how I expected things to play out. The universe has a way of balancing accounts, Zoe replied with a small smile. What are you thinking about Powell's offer? Maya glanced at the email again. I'm thinking we should hear them out. But I won't rush into another deal without proper vetting, no matter how good the terms look. Wise, Zoe agreed. And the board meeting? Maya stood, straightening her jacket. Time to remind them why they backed me in the first place. The boardroom at Horizon Innovations couldn't have been more different from the Whitmore headquarters. Instead of dark wood and oil paintings, the space featured clean lines, natural light, and a table shaped like an oval rather than a rectangle, designed for collaboration rather than hierarchy. Around it sat 12 board members, their expressions ranging from concern to curiosity as Maya entered. Thank you all for coming, she began. I know the past week has raised questions about the future of our company. Chen Wang, their lead investor, spoke first. Maya, while we respect your personal boundaries, walking away from the Whitmore deal has created significant uncertainty. Our shareholders are concerned. Maya nodded, acknowledging his point. I understand those concerns, but I'd like to reframe what happened last week. This wasn't about personal feelings or a single incident. This was about establishing what kind of company Horizon is going to be, who we partner with, how we expect to be treated, and what values guide our decisions. She moved to the screen at the front of the room, displaying a series of slides. Since declining the Whitmore partnership, we've received 4 serious inquiries from potential partners. The most promising is Powell Ventures, offering terms that exceed the Whitmore deal both financially and structurally. Eyebrows raised around the table, Maya continued, moving through the presentation with confidence. Additionally, our stand has resonated with top talent in the industry. We've received 26 job applications from senior engineers and developers in the past 3 days alone, include Inc. 3 from the Whitmore Group. The atmosphere in the room shifted subtly. Doubt was being replaced by cautious optimism. What about the negative press? Asked Diane Huang, their newest board member. Some outlets are questioning your judgment. They are, Maya acknowledged, and others are celebrating our integrity. Either way, Horizon is now part of a larger conversation about business ethics and leadership. Our name recognition has actually increased by 40% since last week. For the next hour, Maya laid out her vision for moving forward, not just recovering from the Whitmore situation, but leveraging it to build stronger, more equitable partnerships. By the time she finished, the board's mood had transformed. The vote to pursue discussions with Powell Ventures was unanimous. After the meeting, Maya returned to her office to find Thomas waiting, a rare smile on his usually serious face. "Congratulations. You managed to turn what could have been a disaster into an opportunity," Maya shrugged. "We're not out of the woods yet. There's still a lot of work ahead." "True, but you've earned this moment." He handed her an envelope. "This came for you." Hand-delivered. Maya opened it to find a handwritten note from Harrison Whitmore Sr. The message was brief. "Ms. Richardson, I wish to express my personal regret regarding recent events. My son's behavior was unacceptable. While business opportunities may have been lost, principles should never be compromised. Respectfully, Harrison Whitmore Sr." No explicit apology, no mention of future collaboration. Yet coming from Harrison, this acknowledgement spoke volumes. "What will you do?" Thomas asked, noticing her thoughtful expression. "File it away," Maya replied, folding the note. "Some bridges stay burned." 3 weeks later, Maya stood on a small stage at a community health center in Detroit, the same neighborhood where she'd grown up. Behind her, a banner announced the launch of Horizon's Healthcare Access Program, now funded by their new partnership with Powell Ventures. The room was filled with local residents, healthcare workers, and students from nearby schools. "Today marks not just a business milestone, but a full-circle moment," Maya told the audience. "This technology was born here, inspired by the challenges I saw in my own community, and now with the right partners, we're bringing it home first." In the front row sat her parents, pride evident in their faces. Next to them were Vincent Powell and his team, partners who had approached Horizon not just for profit potential, but because they shared Maya's vision for healthcare, equity. "Someone very wise once told me that money comes and goes, but your name is yours forever," Maya continued. "When we face difficult choices between convenience and conviction, between profit and principle, we reveal who we truly are." She looked out at the young faces watching her, especially the girls, who might see in her a version of their possible future selves. "True power isn't measured by what you're willing to accept," she said, her voice strong and clear. "It's measured by what you refuse to tolerate. Sometimes walking away from the wrong opportunity is the only way to make room for the right one." After the ceremony, as Maya chatted with community members, her phone buzzed with a news alert. The Whitmore Group had announced a major restructuring. Bradley Whitmore was being moved to a non-public facing role, while Harrison was stepping back into day-to-day operations. Maya put her phone away without comment. That chapter was closed. A young girl approached, maybe 12 years old, holding a newspaper clipping about Maya's stand against the Whitmores. "Is it true you walked away from $1 billion?" she asked, eyes wide with wonder. Maya smiled, kneeling to meet the girl at eye level. "I walked away from people who didn't respect me, and toward something better. Weren't you scared?" "Terrified," Maya admitted. "But sometimes the right choice is the hardest one. And you know what? It's worth it." As the girl nodded solemnly, taking in this lesson, Maya felt a sense of peace settle over her. The path forward wouldn't be easy. Business never was. But for the first time since founding Horizon, she felt fully aligned with both her company's mission and her personal values. Some would call it a billion-dollar mistake. Others, a priceless decision. Maya Richardson simply called it staying true to herself, and that, she knew, was beyond any price tag.